The lively season had arrived. Cherry blossoms bloomed in full glory, painting the world in soft, delicate pinks. The kind of picturesque scenery that screams selfie time for the average student. For elementary, middle, and high school students, it was the start of a brand new semester. Fresh uniforms, fresh dreams, and most importantly, fresh romantic encounters under those dreamy sakura trees. But not for retake students, nope. For them, spring wasn't about love or cherry blossoms. It was about suffering with style. A new year at the Kiamiang Retake Comprehensive Academy meant only one thing. Another round of academic purgatory, where hope came with footnotes and stress came in bulk. Instead of joyful reunions, you got somber processions, rows of sleep-deprived souls shuffling through city streets like zombies who forgot they were dead, all marching toward the looming gates of the academy, where dreams went to be tested and often crushed. Among them walked Hoya, a bespectacled young man whose eyes were either glued to the ground or the notebook clutched in his hands like a sacred text. His walk was solo, his vibe was serious, and his soul burdened, until, of course, she appeared. "Hey, Hoya." He looked up, mildly annoyed, as one tends to be when their personal bubble is punctured by excessive cheer. Yoju bounced over in her bright pink jacket, long black hair swaying like a shampoo commercial come to life. She waved energetically, as if she hadn't just interrupted what might have been a very important internal monologue about entropy and futility. "You're early today," she chirped, reaching out to pat his head like he was a particularly stubborn puppy she was trying to domesticate. He recoiled instantly. "Stop that," he snapped, adjusting his glasses with a practiced motion of mild indignation. "And stop calling me Hoya." Ja laughed, clearly delighted. "Oh wow," she teased, grinning. "You're actually talking back now? Look at you, growing a spine." As they trudged onward, toward destiny, despair, or possibly both, Hoya shared his grand plan for the day. "Today, I'm going to solve the 2019 mock exam." Ja's eyes lit up like someone had handed her a live wire. "Oh," she cooed, leaning in way too close. "Want to make it interesting?" She proposed a bet. Loser buys dinner. She leaned in even closer, face just inches from his, and asked with an intense glint in her pink-lined eyes, "Deal?" Poor Hoya didn't stand a chance. He turned red faster than a boiled lobster, sweat breaking out like it was trying to escape the pressure building inside him. The girl was relentless, lively, overbearing, and somehow always there. Her name? Yoja, fellow student. Same retake academy. Same class. And, judging by the way she kept showing up uninvited, probably the architect of half his headaches this semester. Their relationship? Complicated, like a math problem written in invisible ink, with a side of emotional landmines. But Yoju was far from ordinary. With looks that rivaled celebrities and grades that topped the charts, she was seen as an absurdly powerful figure, famous throughout the academy, where practically everyone knew her name. Yet her notoriety wasn't just for her strengths. She was also infamous as the academy's most disruptive troublemaker, a reputation reinforced by a number of incidents. One such event took place in class. Hoya sat immersed in his studies, surrounded by equally focused peers, when the door suddenly slammed open. A furious instructor stormed in, shouting, "Hey, you idiots!" instantly drawing attention to the chaos at the entrance, clearly the result of Joe's actions. Another moment showed Yoju at her desk, which was piled high with a mountain of sweets and gifts, likely collected during White Day. Male classmates watched with mixed expressions of embarrassment and curiosity. A closer view revealed her surrounded by admirers offering presents and flowers, their faces filled with everything from love-struck awe to fierce determination. Her overwhelming popularity often spiraled into disorder, as one scene revealed. A poor admirer screamed in pain, seemingly being expelled or facing a harsh fate, likely at Gio's hand. Adding yet another twist to her enigmatic image, Yojo was shown as a captivating witch, soaring menacingly on a broomstick beneath a starry sky, holding a skull marked with a heart, while dark, swirling magic flowed from her cloak and a grinning, bomb-shaped creature dangled below. This darker, Magical persona was emphasized further by a chilling visual. A towering pile of skulls, each bearing a red heart, suggesting something far more ominous beneath her vibrant surface. Back in the everyday world of the academy hallway, Hoya found himself awkwardly walking beside Ju, sweat beading on his forehead as she hummed softly, seemingly unfazed by his discomfort. He cast a sideways glance at her, visibly tense and unsure how to handle her intense presence. As if sensing his unease, Yoju gave a cryptic warning. The more you resist, the worse it'll be for you. Flustered, Hoya fired back, asking what she would do if strange rumors started to spread because of her behavior. Clearly anxious, he pressed her with concern, questioning if she was really okay with it and if she could handle the consequences. Gio simply smiled with calm confidence and answered, "Yeah, I'm fine with it." Hoya stared at her, confused and bewildered, before nervously responding, I think you misunderstood something." He gestured wildly, trying to explain what he meant by strange rumors. Turns out, he was referring to the idea that they were DD dating. Jazz's expression shifted instantly into one of exaggerated delight as she repeated, "Rumors that we're dating?" She waved off his concern like it was nothing, cheerfully insisting, "It's okay. It's okay," with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for birthday surprises or free pizza. She added with a shrug, "Who cares what people say?" Apparently, in her world, rumors were just gossip you could toss into the trash bin like last week's leftovers. Hoya, still flustered, blinked at her nonchalance. "Why don't you mind?" he asked, clearly baffled that someone could be so chill about their reputation being dragged through the rumor mill. Jo leaned in playfully, eyes glinting mischievously, and hit him with a question. "Is it because you hate the idea of dating me?" This utterly flummoxed Hoya. He recoiled dramatically, clutching his glasses like they were the last vestiges of his sanity, letting out a strangled groan as his face turned an impressive shade of crimson. He stammered incoherently, somewhere between a panic attack and a poetic tragedy. Back in the day, he convinced himself he could focus on studying without distractions, partly because Ja's seat was far away. But now she was leaning over his shoulder asking, "So what do you think about dating her?" Hoya, already reeling from her earlier question, felt the universe conspiring against him. His internal monologue chimed in grimly. "Remember, this girl is actively trying to ruin my retake life." As he recoiled, Jai did her signature imposing form thing, briefly looming over him like a vengeful spirit before snapping back into her usual self. Still way too close for comfort, she leaned in again, completely oblivious, or maybe too aware, of his inner chaos, repeating, "Hoya, hey, are you even listening?" Her attention then drifted to his wrist. "What's with this watch?" she asked, squinting at it like it had personally offended her. "Looks broken." She grabbed his wrist, inspecting the cracked face with the intensity of a detective on a crime show. "Why would you even wear something like this?" Hoya snapped, yanking his arm away like she'd touched a cursed artifact. "Hey, don't push it too far, okay?" His voice rose with frustration as he reminded her how strict their academy was about relationships between boys and girls. "If you keep this up," he warned, "we could both get expelled." While she might not care about getting kicked out, he sure as hell did. "Stop wasting time," he pleaded. "Focus on studying instead of bothering me." The desperation in his glare was palpable, like a man clinging to the edge of a cliff, begging someone not to throw confetti on his crisis. In the past, in a dimly lit room, Hoya, once known as Juo, screamed in anguish, covering his mouth like he was trying to swallow his own despair. An older man, his father, spoke coldly. "Juo, getting into medical school? How hard could it be?" The camera zoomed in on the father's glasses, reflecting a chilling emptiness, as if staring into the void. Surrounded by stern-faced family members radiating disappointment, Juo trembled. "Father, please, just give me one more chance." His plea was met with violence. The father slammed his fist down, shattering the desk in a thunderous crash, scattering Juo's belongings like fallen leaves in a storm. Standing over him, the father delivered the final blow, Just quit studying already. Juo sat hunched over the now-destroyed desk, utterly defeated. Nearby, his broken watch lay among the debris, its hands frozen in place, symbolizing the moment time stopped for him. The crushing weight of his father's words echoed in the air, lingering like a bad smell. Cut back to present-day Hoya, glancing anxiously at his still broken watch. The stopped hand served as a painful reminder of his perceived failure, and the pressure he carried like a backpack full of bricks. He adjusted his sleeve nervously, puffing out a breath, tried to shake off the memory like a wet dog shaking off water. After Hoya's flustered confession that yes, Ju was a distraction and no, he really didn't want to get expelled, she paused thoughtfully. A small, knowing smile curled on her lips, like someone who had just figured out how to open a locked treasure chest without the key. "Oh my," she said, almost mockingly sweet, "that's nothing." She leaned in, eyes glinting with mischief and mild menace. "Honestly, I can solve that little problem for you in one go." Hoya blinked at her like she'd just offered him a free trip to another dimension, and not the fun kind. Jua reminded him, her voice sharp and playful all at once. "Back in the April mock exam, you ranked first and I came second, right?" She leaned in even closer, her pink eyes gleaming like polished knives. "So here's what we're going to do." She laid out her bizarre, terrifying proposition. If she ever beat him in any future mock exam, even once, he'd have to date her. Hoya exploded. "WH what? What kind of ridiculous bet is this?" He threw his hands up in full-blown panic mode. "If we date, we'll get expelled. Why would I ever agree to something so insane?" Gio tilted her head, unfazed. "Didn't you say getting expelled was your biggest worry?" She delivered her logic like a lawyer closing a case. "Then to avoid that, you'll just have to study harder. Beat me every single time. See? I'm giving you motivation." She clasped her hands together like an angelic life coach from hell. "I'm not a distraction. I'm helping you study. Don't you think that's sweet of me?" Hoya sputtered, blushing furiously. "Are you stupid?" He pointed out, quite reasonably, that this arrangement wasn't exactly risk-free for her either. "You'll get expelled too if you lose." She shrugged, utterly unbothered. "Like I said, I don't care if I get kicked out." Then, suddenly, her expression shifted. Her eyes narrowed, her grin widened, and she leaned in until her face was inches from his. "But you seem to care a lot about staying, don't you?" Hoya recoiled, stammered, and realized he was being played, not just by a classmate, but by a full-on academic supervillain in pastel-colored eyeliner. Dark energy began to swirl around Ju like a cursed aura. She hovered slightly off the ground, her eyes glowing an eerie shade of pink, her grin stretching wider than should be physically possible. Tilting her head like a possessed doll, she asked in a disturbingly cheerful tone, "What's wrong? Are you scared?" Poor Hoya could only whimper as the sheer absurdity and intensity of the moment crushed his soul into fine powder. Sweat poured down his face like he'd just run a marathon in a sauna. Cornered and emotionally broken, he let out a strangled groan and did the only logical thing left to do. He turned and walked away. Fast that Jia watched him go, completely unfazed, as if this were a daily occurrence. But Hoya, in a last-ditch effort to reclaim some dignity and maybe a shred of his sanity, spun back dramatically. "Scared of you?" He pointed assertively, puffing out his chest like a rooster trying to look bigger. "I'm not scared at all. If you're so confident, bring it on." Gio smiled brightly, like a child handed a lollipop made of pure chaos. "All right," she chirped, "I'll be counting on you." And just like that, she was walking beside him again, casually placing a hand on his shoulder and patting it with fake innocence. "Hey, is it okay if I stick around?" Hoya immediately panicked, flinching away like she'd touched him with a taser. "Don't stick so close to me." This girl, this complex, terrifying, magical enigma, was none other than Yoju, the witch, the menace, the human equivalent of a pop quiz on finals week. As she walked, an ominous presence pulsed faintly around her, unseen by everyone else, but somehow felt by anyone with a functioning survival instinct. Her true power? Revealed in a dramatic close-up of her intense pink, eye reflecting strange, arcane symbols. IT wasn't just about passing exams anymore. Nope, that Yoju's secret ability. The real reason people mysteriously disappeared from class rolls was a chilling power to manipulate life and death itself. Suddenly, as they walked, Jack accidentally bumped into a student absorbed in his phone. Ah, he yelped, startled. Oh, sorry, she said sweetly, batting her eyelashes. No, no, it's fine, he reassured her already. Under her spell, or perhaps just male pattern obliviousness. That was my bad, she admitted with a charming smile. The boy, now fully disarmed and helplessly smitten, stammered, "Pee pretty." Then it happened. In an instant, jagged black tendrils of energy erupted from Yoju like smoke from a cursed grimoire. They wrapped around the poor student, engulfing him in shadow before he collapsed onto the pavement, drained, unconscious, or possibly just spiritually evicted. Hoya stared in horror. "This is insane," he muttered, eyes wide with existential dread. He quickly turned away, letting out a disturbed groan, shoulders hunched as though carrying the weight of 1,000 cursed exams. Terrified and repulsed, he muttered to himself, "That girl is not normal." Hoya stood frozen in place, his brain short-circuiting like an overloaded toaster. His face was the human embodiment of "I have seen too much." Sweat dripped down like he'd just escaped a sauna full of cursed exam papers. He had just witnessed Yoju casually drain the life force out of an innocent bystander, like she was swiping left on their soul. Completely repulsed, utterly terrified, and spiritually scarred for life, Hoya did the only rational thing left to do. He stopped dead in his tracks. Jo, noticing the sudden absence of her favorite stress ball, turned around. "Hoya!" She blinked at the sheer terror etched across his face. Mouth agape, eyes wide, body language screaming abandoned ship. Then, without warning, Hoya bolted, like a startled deer crossing a highway during rush hour. He sprinted away with a dramatic pang. Sound effect that probably only existed in his head. Ja stared after him, utterly baffled. "Wait, what? Why are you running?" Cut to Hoya, panting and sweating, now inside a convenience store, possibly seeking refuge from the eldritch horror that is Yoju, or just trying to refuel his retake student metabolism. He methodically picked up a triangular rice ball, NI flavor, because obviously, stacking it atop an impressive arsenal of snacks. More rice balls, sandwiches, and enough canned coffee to caffeinate an entire cram school. As he stood there, gathering supplies like a survivalist preparing for the apocalypse. Suddenly, Jot appeared beside him. Because of course she did, startled, Hoya nearly dropped his carefully curated snack load. "Why did you suddenly run away?" she demanded. Brow furrowed like this was somehow his fault. "I was surprised," he muttered, avoiding eye contact as he stared down at the pile of food like it might offer protection. Her eyes widened slightly when she noticed how much he had bought. "Wow, how can you even eat so much?" A hopeful glint sparked in her gaze. "Did you buy some for me?" Hoya gave her a flat stare. "No." She let out a disappointed TCH, pulling out her wallet like a last resort bargaining chip. "Well, I've got money too." Back at the counter, Hoya placed his massive breakfast haul down like a man, surrendering his dignity. "That'll be all," he said flatly, pulling out his wallet. Before he could finish, Joss slid a carton of Swedish mint chocolate milk onto the pile with the smooth precision of someone who had practiced ambush-style grocery additions to SUK. With a sweet smile and a sparkle in her pink eyes, she said, "Oopsie, I forgot my card." "Huh, I'll definitely pay you back tomorrow." Hoya blinked. "You know we don't have class tomorrow, right? It's the weekend." She paused mid-smile. "Ooh," then brightened instantly. "So, want to meet up and study together tomorrow?" "No," Hoya said immediately, turning to the cashier with conviction. "Remove the milk." Ja latched onto his arm like a koala on a tree branch. "Why? I said I'd pay you back." Hoya pushed her off gently but firmly, addressing the cashier again. "Please remove the item." The cashier, identified in Hoya's mind as Peon Dulsec, 33, part-timer, single, weary beyond his years, watched the exchange with the tired resignation of someone who has seen too many doomed relationships unfold in aisle 3. That finally, Hoya gave in with a pout. Fine. As they exited the store, Gio sipped her milk contentedly while eyeing Hoya's bag of breakfast weapons. Hoya, she mused, you're the type who eats a lot for breakfast. She added, I could never eat that much. He side-eyed her, clutching his bag tightly like it might shield him from whatever chaos she planned next. They walked toward the academy building. Hoya tense, Jacques carefree. The door clicked open. Inside, Hoya made his way to his seat, middle section, prime real estate for academic suffering, while Ja headed toward hers near the front. But then, something felt off. He looked up. A slow, sly smile crept across his face, until he realized something horrifying that Yoju was sitting right next to him. What? What's wrong? She asked innocently, like she hadn't just broken the laws of both seating charts and reality itself. Hoya exploded. What are you doing here? This isn't your seat. Joss simply smiled. All right. Originally, it wasn't. Her eyes gleamed mischievously. I asked your usual partner to switch seats with me. He was super nice about it. Hoya muttered through gritted teeth. What a nice person. He turned to look at where his former seatmate now sat, completely under Yoju's magical influence. His face flushed with equal parts embarrassment and existential dread. Yoju, he thought grimly. Whispers rippled through the classroom. No one saw this coming. Zhao leaned closer, her pink eyes glowing with mischief. Anyway, since we're sitting next to each other now, how about we try that thing? Hoya blinked. That thing. Zhao pulled out a thick red textbook with a flourish. Here, 20 years of seat safety practice mock exams. Hoya stared. Why are we doing this? She beamed. How about this? Loser buys drinks from the snack bar. After a long, calculating pause, probably mentally weighing his chances against fate, destiny, and a girl who may or may not control time, Hoya sighed. Okay. Ju declared cheerfully. Ready, start. And with that, pencils flew, erasers squeaked, and the tension in the room became thicker than the textbook itself. Sometime later, Hoya stood victorious at the snack bar entrance, arms crossed smugly. Meanwhile, Ja stood nearby, trembling slightly, staring at the results like she'd just been handed proof that the earth was flat. I can't believe it, she muttered. She turned to Hoya, eyes wide. There's no way. You scored 20 points higher than me. Did you cheat? Guess? Copy the answer key? What? Hoya smirked. I told you. I'm not losing to you. Ever. Ja let out a frustrated TCH. Ugh. Still riding the high of victory, Hoya imperiously ordered. Go ahead, hurry up, and buy me coffee. I want an iced caramel macchiato. Before he could finish, he paused. Wait, didn't you say you didn't bring money today? Ja gasped audibly, realization hitting her like a stack of failed exams. GP. Despite everything, including her lack of funds, Ja somehow convinced Hoya to buy her an iced coffee anyway. I'll definitely pay you back. With interest, she promised sweetly. Hoya blinked. She leaned in slightly, smiling. So what do you think? About studying together like this? He stared. His brain screamed internally, but outwardly, he decided. Hoya paused, staring off into the distance like he was watching his own soul flee in fear. He glanced back at the memory of himself hunched over during the mock exam, eyes bloodshot from stress, muttering motivational garbage like, I will not lose to her, before finally giving in with a reluctant sigh. Fine. Whatever. Zhao immediately lit up like she'd just won free coffee for life. See? I told you it's a win-win. She playfully patted his back, way too enthusiastically for someone who had already traumatized him earlier that week, that he flinched. Because of course he did. Facing Zha's beaming expression, Hoya braced himself as she launched into her next terrifying proposition. So, can I have your number? For study group logistics. He stammered awkwardly, then flatly refused. No thanks. Big mistake. Dark energy instantly swirled around her like a cursed aura, only visible to those who dared oppose her. Her voice dropped to a cold, commanding tone. Give me your number. Defeated, Hoya surrendered. Not just his digits, but possibly a piece of his dignity, as he typed his number into her phone. Later that night, back in the safety of his own house, or so he thought, Namjuo, his real name, which sounded suspiciously more tragic than Hoya, sat slumped over his desk like a man awaiting execution. The clock ticked ominously toward 8:25 p.m. He stared blankly at his books, sweat dripping down like he was being punished by the universe itself. His mind helplessly replayed Ja's cheerful death sentence. Let's meet tomorrow and study together, his face contorted in horror. Clasping his hands like he was praying to any god listening, he buried his face in despair, overwhelmed by the sheer dread of what awaited him. He leaned back in his chair with a defeated sigh, the sound of a man who knew he had no escape. Then, ding, his phone buzzed. He picked it up, dreading the worst. And there it was, a series of messages from Ju, whose contact photo was an overly bright and suspiciously chipper hi emoji, along with a map pin. And one final message: let's meet by 9 o'clock. He stared at the screen like he'd been handed his own fate sealed in ink. The next morning, under the unrelenting brightness of the city skyline, Juo stood waiting, checking his phone every 5 seconds like it might save him. The time read 8:39 a.m. He tapped impatiently and sent her a stiff text. Where are you? Sweating, nervous, and visibly regretting every decision that led him here, he scanned the area until his doom casually wandered into view. Ja approached, phone in hand, looking far too relaxed, as if she hadn't personally orchestrated this entire situation. Hoya, she called brightly, waving. You came early. The nearby pedestrians chuckled like they were watching a comedy unfold in real time. She called him Hoya. One girl remarked with amusement. It's like a nickname. Ah, how cute. Juo turned redder than a boiled lobster left in the pot too long. Seriously, he snapped. I specifically said not to call me that. Ja blinked innocently, tilting her head. Why not? It's cute, she added sweetly. I said I'd come early, just didn't expect you to beat me here. She gave him a playful grin. Well, aren't you cool? Hoya. Internally, Juo scoffed. Skip out on this? Please. I'm not that trashy. But he quickly forgot his earlier reluctance, now just flustered and confused. Then Jawa declared cheerfully, since I owe you from yesterday, coffee-wise, I'll treat you to a full-course meal today. Juo nearly choked. Full course? We're here to study, remember? I'm going home once we finish everything. Ja waved him off without a care in the world. Okay. As they walked, they opted for a cafe instead of a fancy restaurant. But then came the second betrayal. The line snaked out the door like people were waiting for salvation, or at least caffeine. No way, Hoya muttered, staring in disbelief. This is seriously the line? He groaned aloud, grumbling about how this is a waste of my valuable study time and questioning what kind of cursed establishment made humans wait like this to Ja. Meanwhile, looked around with innocent curiosity. Maybe the wait is worth it, she offered optimistically. Popular places usually mean something good, right? Finally reaching the counter, a hyper-enthusiastic barista greeted them with a practiced pep. I'll be helping with your order. Juo asked Hoya what he wanted. He simply mumbled. Ja translated smoothly. He'll have an iced Americano and a cold brew. Both large, please. The barista confirmed their order with a smile, and suddenly perked up, eyes glinting like she was about to unveil a secret treasure. Oh, she whispered conspiratorially. Are you two, by any chance, a couple? Hoya's face darkened instantly. He opened his mouth to deny it with maximum force. Before he could say anything, Ja seized the opportunity with the speed of a predator locking onto prey. Dark energy sparked subtly around her, completely invisible to the unsuspecting barista, but very real to Hoya, who felt like he was drowning in icy water. She turned to him with a wicked gleam in her eye and gently reached out. Can I hold your hand? Hoya hesitated, trembling slightly like he was summoning all his strength just to survive the moment. Then, reluctantly, he extended in one swift motion. Ja clasped his hand firmly, fingers interlocked, displaying undeniable affection in front of the caffeinated masses. Turning back to the counter with a triumphant grin while Hoya blushed furiously beside her, she asked sweetly, "Does this work?" The barista squealed, "Success."